I hate to do a video like this, and gives me great sadness, but we have to address something that really shows us as a country taking the pulse on a culture of where we are and where we're not. Many of you know I have 8 kids. I talk about my 8 kids a lot. I joke about having 8 kids a lot, and I think you have to when you have 8 kids. But in all seriousness, nothing means more to me than my wife and children. If you've heard me speak at certain events, you know that I discern the priesthood. I never wanted to get married. I dated in high school, but I was around great priests, and I discerned the priesthood, and my plan was that I was going to be celibate and not have children. I was totally fine with that, which shows God's great sense of humor, because I have 8 children now, and I can't imagine living without them. And I know people talk about it, but we need to talk about it now. There is nothing like when your baby boy or your baby girl is born. It is the most beautiful, miraculous event any of us can ever experience. And as a man, you never feel more vulnerable and just emptying yourself out that you would do anything for your daughter or your son when you look at them in the eyes. It never gets old. We've been blessed to be able to do it 8 times. It is the most unbelievable thing when you first see your child. And we've had such awesome doctors and nurses as we've moved across different places as 40 Days for Life has grown, and all of them have been great. It's been such a beautiful experience, and there's nothing like it. You would do anything for your child or any other baby right when they're born. It's just absolutely humbling to see a child come into the world and be born. It's very justified that we celebrate our birthdays. It's truly a miracle, and it's the most beautiful thing. Recently, we've had something happen that we need to address, which is when the Congress and the Senate voted on the Infant Born Alive Protection Act, which protects unborn children who are aborted and they survive. We've heard many of the abortion survivors. We've had them on the podcast. And so these are babies that survive an abortion. And all Democrats, except for one in Congress, voted to deny health care to these babies who survive an abortion. That's unconscionable. I know a lot of people have addressed this and they said, oh, it's awful and Democrats are evil and they're terrible and this is who they are and all that. But this goes beyond that. This goes beyond like a political talking point of they're really bad and we're really good. Who in the world does this? How can we possibly not give aid to a baby boy or a baby girl who is on the table taking their first breaths? They are completely dependent on us. This viability stuff is garbage. I have college buddies who aren't viable. If the goal is you got to live on your own without us, half our country wouldn't be alive. And yet when the baby boy or baby girl is born, after the attempt on their life, we're just going to leave them there? The message that those Democrats are sending to this struggling baby who doesn't know what's going on, they're breathing, it's a new life. Their message is that child lays there is screw you. We're not helping you. We don't want you. We never wanted you. And if you can't survive on your own, we're not going to help you. I know we're a superpower and we're the most powerful country in the world and probably the history of the world. You're on your own. We're not helping you. What is wrong with us? How in the world can we justify Kermit Gosnell being in federal prison? He's still alive. He's 83 years old. And for those of you who don't remember, his house was raided by the FBI in 2010. The FBI agents were so disturbed by it, they called his medical clinic, his abortion facility, a house of horrors. They discovered countless body parts and dead babies in jars. We convicted Kermit Gosnell for 3 first-degree murders. Okay, he's in federal prisons. Those 3 first-degree murders were 3 babies who survived an abortion, and he cut their heads off. How in the world can we justify keeping that monster locked up? We should free him. How in the world can we say that we're going to deny health care to a baby boy or a baby girl who survives an abortion and lock up Kermit Gosnell for killing the babies very effectively? They can't defend themselves. He had scissors. He cut their heads off. And as his defense lawyer said, he was providing a service. How could a Democrat possibly disagree with that? How could we justify keeping him in prison? How could we justify second-degree murder from Scott Peterson? He should get a retrial. He's in prison because he killed his pregnant wife, and the court named the baby Connor, and Connor died, and so he got charged with second-degree murder. This kind of schizophrenic relationship with the unborn child isn't sustainable. And it takes a pulse on where we are and where we're not. And that is why, 40 Days for Life starts in a little over a month, March the 5th, on Ash Wednesday. We need Ash Wednesday. And if you've blown your New Year's resolution, you can just restart, use Lent, and get back on track on Ash Wednesday. But Ash Wednesday will remind us that from dust we came and dust we shall return. And we need that. We need a spiritual awakening in our country. I know that obviously those crazy politicians who voted for this, they don't reflect all of America. America is great, and America is ending abortion more than any other country in the West. But we're not propping our feet up and celebrating. What happened in Washington, D.C. is a very dangerous reflection of what we're capable of. And as you know, 40 Days for Life is based on prayer. It's based on fasting. And we have great people that don't believe in God that are in the pro-life movement. And that's awesome. Everybody should be pro-life. It's common sense. It's just based on science. But I don't know without faith in God or belief in the devil how you can explain something like this, like denying health care to a baby boy or a baby girl who is struggling on the table, breathing, fully alive, and we're just going to say, forget you, you're on your own. I don't know how you explain the will to do that and let the baby die without believing in the devil, because it's absolute evil. It's inexcusable. It's not a simple, people have crazy, political beliefs that I don't really agree with. It's far beyond that. It's probably the most anti-human stance in the history of the United States of America. It's the most shameful stance in the history of anybody in the United States of America. It's actually unbelievable that we have to address it, but we have to address it with resolve to put our faith in prayer, in fasting, and realizing that we're culpable not only for our personal sins, but the sins of our country, and that we need to do everything to fight against them and to be a light in this great darkness. So I invite you to really participate in this Lent 40 Days for Life campaign that kicks off on March the 5th. I know there's a lot of excitement. I was in Washington, D.C. for the inauguration. It was awesome. The thing is that our culture is sick. Our culture needs God. Our culture needs Jesus Christ. And our culture needs you to recognize how sick we are. But we're not sick without hope. We need to put our faith in the cross. We need to pray. We need to fast. We need to rely on the basics. And we need to give hope outside of these abortion facilities that are surviving on this mentality that children are a burden, and they're a burden at all stages, even after they're born. It is very dangerous. It is a sign of illness in a society or a civilization, and it is a call to action for you and for me. And we are not without hope, and we need to defend hope for those who have no voice but ours.